Hey guys, F26 here, and welcome back to highlights of AOR. And we're here today for round number 6 around Canada at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve here in Montreal. My most successful and probably my best track in league racing as we come to start our qualifying lap here. Currently sitting in P2 on the grid with a pretty average lap, it must be said, but we're going to aim to improve that as we fly through turn 1 there and nailing the apex and hopefully getting a reasonable exit out of turn 2. Run a bit wide on the grass there, which is not ideal and really unnecessary to be honest, which has cost us a bit of time as we now head through the 3 and 4 chicane. Flying the car through there, could have maybe used a bit more of the track on the exit, but that doesn't matter too much. Just trying to improve our lap here so we get a solid lap and then maybe go for an absolute stunner at the end of the session. We've understeered a bit wide out of turn 7, I think that is, but that hasn't cost us too much. We head down this mini DRS straight towards the final chicane in sector 2, throwing the car through there, could have taken a bit more speed through the first apex, and we've got ESRMA's Sauber binned in the wall, which is not ideal. Luckily he's ghosted and we haven't hit him as we are going now purple to the middle sector, around the hairpin, horrible corner like every hairpin on the calendar, but we've managed to negotiate it quite well. The Giant gets out of the way in the Ferrari as we now head down at the back straight towards the final chicane and the Wall of Champions, preparing ourselves. Going to have to go maximum commitment into this chicane to try and maximise the lap time as we now fly through the chicane, hopping over the second curve. Probably cost ourselves a bit of time there, took too much curve, but we're going to go for the straight run to the line, hopefully not run out of ERS. We don't, and it's a 1 minute 7.6 there, which is pretty solid. I've done a 0.5 in practice, so we want to try and go again, see if we can improve this, although that's not the best start to lap. We run too deep into the last chicane to start our lap. We've gone for a cool down lap and it's wet at the start of the race, so we're going to go for another lap on these Hypersoft tyres as we head through turn number 1 and now 2. We've done that a lot better, I reckon, and we haven't run out wide on the exit, so the delta does go to the green there, which is exactly what we want as we now head through turn 4. There, a bit of oversteer on the exit. The tyres probably getting a bit worn after doing a quality lap on them, but still going maximum attack. We've understeered through turn 6 there, which is not ideal, and as a result the delta has gone into the red, which is not what we want really, but we'll have to deal with it as we come down this straight, losing time all the while from that poor run out of the chicane. But we've actually managed to negotiate that chicane a bit better, running out nice and wide, just not quite touching the wall, as the delta should hopefully be heading back towards the green now as we head towards the hairpin once again. Late on the brakes, delta briefly goes into green as we've managed to negotiate that much better now, and we're only a few thousandths down on lap time, so it all comes down to whether we can nail the last chicane or not here, as to whether we can improve. At the moment no one has actually beaten us, so we're still looking good from pole here as we head down once again towards the final chicane and the Wall of Champions. Hopefully a bit less curve on the second part this time, flying through the first part and the second part, less curve, running it out wide. As you can see there, we've gone to low fuel mode and we've actually run out of fuel here, so we probably weren't going to improve anyway, but any chance of the delta flicking to the green on the run to the line was ruined, and there we are. P1 here, another pole around Canada, just like in ILR. This time I had a mighty Dylan by just under a tenth, actually no, under half a tenth actually, it's very close there. Jack in 3rd, Stu in 4th, not so quick this week, Seabro in 5th, Humperdinck in 6th, Big C 7th and Midget in 8th there. So yeah, our first pole of the season, making it 6 different pole sitters from 6, 7 if you count Australia, which was cancelled, but we're here for the race. As I said, wet race, intermediates throughout, and Jeff is telling me the 2-stop, and I'm agreeing with him. I'm not sure that the 1-stop will be possible, especially with my rear tyre wear. This was the day after RGL Bahrain, where I'd absolutely molested the rears, if you've seen that video earlier in the week. Making a couple of adjustments to the setup to hopefully look after the rears, but probably not, and yeah, that should be us ready to race now. We'll probably go for the 2-stop. It depends what other people around us are doing, and hopefully we don't get involved in any incidents which force us to do a compromise strategy. But we now have the lights here for another wet start here in Canada, just like our lights. 5 red lights now, and it's lights out and away we go. We've got a bit of wheel spin in second gear, managed to control it nicely as we go to 4th and plant the power as we head into turn number 1. Dylan's actually having a look around the outside. We're going to leave him the space, give him the racing room that he has earned, but we have that superior line for the exit of turn 2 as we're still oversteering in 5th gear there, but we should be clear of the McLaren now as we head through the chicane of 3 and 4, and indeed we are, and that is very good. We've maintained the lead off the start, and hopefully we can remember these conditions from 3 or so weeks back when we did it in ILR and pull off a reasonable gap right away from the start. A bit of oversteer there, but as you can see we've already got a reasonable cushion from Dylan as we head in towards this chicane at the end of the second sector. Understeering a bit wide, but just about keeping it on the track. As we head down towards the hairpin now, and what I'm thinking at the back of my mind is the last chicane. Remember the last chicane, we locked up there in a few times, which put us in difficult situations, so we need to be wary of that here, especially on the first lap where the brakes still won't be quite up to the temperature that we want them to. But we've got a solid gap now. I think Jack's actually having a look at Dylan, the championship leader in the Ferrari, only third at the moment, but I think he wants to get a move on past the McLaren, and indeed he has. He moved up to second as we head through the final chicane. We've actually negotiated it quite well, put it down into third unnecessary, but to be careful there. And as you can see, Dylan's gone flying into the wall in the background. There's been an absolute pile up in the last chicane, as I've set the fastest lap there obviously, but yeah, Dylan just, I think he locked up, went wide into the chicane and rejoined, and Stewie just went into the back of him and forced him into the wall. Everyone piled in, absolute mayhem, which means me and Jack are a long way ahead at the front of the field as it's the end of lap 2, fastest lap again, but Jack's a bit quicker. He's closing the gap. The gap's under a second at the moment. Big C's some 4 seconds back, so it's looking like a 2-horse race with the rest of the order really jumbled up due to the carnage at the end of lap 1. And we remain in the lead for now, but end of lap number 3, is Jack going to close on us once again? It's the fastest lap from us, and Jack beats it once again. I think the gap's down to 6/10 now, so he is really piling the pressure on here, and we just need to keep doing what we're doing, don't make any mistakes, and he shouldn't be able to get past us because obviously wet conditions, no DRS. The odds are in our favour. The difference in terms of pace isn't that different, as it's the fastest lap once again from us, and Jack once again beats it as we run a bit deep into turn 1 this time. Maybe going to give him an opportunity into turn 2, but we just about managed to get the car back on the racing line, and we've got a reasonable exit there. Yes, we have, so he doesn't have an opportunity into turn number 3. Giving a couple of laps later now, on to lap 8. We've maintained the lead for the moment. Tyres looking alright, but not great. I am thinking that the 2-stop will be the one at this point as we head towards the end of sector 1, and we've locked up there. Just, I don't know really why, maybe breaking off the track with the right tyres caused us to lock up the front. We managed to rejoin the apex nicely and prevent Jack from having the opportunity to go past, and we just about maintain P1 here, while still all the while pulling away from Big C in third, which is exactly what we want as we head through the chicane. And yeah, we are still in P1 there despite a small scare into the chicane at the end of sector 1 there, as we now skip on to lap number 11. This is our pit stop lap for the 2-stop. As you can see, 47% on the rear left. I have to do 6 more laps on those if I want to pull off the 1-stop. I'm thinking, well, I didn't do the maths at the time, but that's probably going to be about, as I try and do the maths now, I probably could have done it actually. That probably would have been just under 70%. Oh well, these things happen, but yeah. As we head into the pits, Jack continues on. At this point I'm thinking, yeah, he's probably doing the 1-stop here, so this makes things very interesting. It's a battle of the strategies. Luckily Canada is the shortest pit lane in terms of time lost on the calendar, so we don't have to make up too much time, but we have dropped a 4th. Amazed has gone past, Midget has gone past, Big C's joined us in the pits there, also following the 2-stop, but it looks like these guys are going for the 1-stop, which means that we'll have some overtaking to do if we want to win this race. Obviously we should have in theory a 5 or 6 lap undercut on Jack, so we should be ahead of him by the time he pits by quite a significant amount, and then we'll just have to consolidate that and with the fresher tyres in the last stint, and hopefully close the gap down from whatever gap he has. We'll have to see. Obviously penalties will come into it as well probably. I haven't got a single warning yet. Jack hasn't got a penalty all season, so I'm suspecting he's keeping it pretty clean as well. So it's hopefully we'll both have 0 penalties and it will come down to it on track, but we'll have to wait and see. Still a long way to go, plenty of corners to cut still in the race as we head down towards the end of sector 2. I've set a purple middle sector on that lap, closing up to the Renault of Midget, who's currently in a podium position, although not for much longer, hopefully. He managed to avoid the carnage on lap 1, and his pace has been sufficiently good that he's still hanging on to the back of Amazed in the Sauber, hoping for them both to pick up their first podium of the season as we head into the last chicane. Now we've locked up the tyres, we're going to have to go straight on there, lift off the throttle to make sure we don't get a warning, but that has cost us a huge amount of time there, which is exactly not what we want to be falling right off the back of the Renault, and we're going to have to put a shift in if we want to catch back up to them. End of the next lap, that's the fastest lap of the race once again, but we're still not as close to Midget as we were coming into the chicane on the previous lap, or now 2 laps ago, which is terrible really, because that's thrown away a lot of time, and Jack is as a result going to lose out less from my massive undercut as we head to the final chicane once again. End of the lap, Dylan's AI doesn't do anything to distract us. We've almost thrown it in the wall, which wouldn't have been ideal. Pushing quite hard, as you can imagine. We haven't caught Midget that much on this lap. He's catching Amazed, to be honest, so hopefully he can drag him with him, and hopefully we can negotiate both of them quite easy. Ideal situation would be they throw it in the wall or throw it into each other, but They're both pretty competent drivers. I'm not expecting that to happen. As you can see, the spray, first time really following a car in the race, although obviously I knew it from ILR. Visibility isn't very good, as we're going to have a look at the back of the Renault off the chicane there. We can't quite pull out without suffering from oversteer, and then we do suffer from oversteer, so we're not able to go for a move into this chicane. Not that it's really an overtaking spot anyway, it's just maybe if we could get ahead before the chicane. We're blinded and we can't see the apex, and we've cut the corner there, which is our first warning in the race. Hopefully we won't get too many more of them. But we've got a good run on the Renault off the chicane. Are we going to have a look up the inside in the hairpin? More confident on the brakes, down to first gear. Get the car rotated. Surely he can't hang it around that side, and indeed he can't, and that is us up into P3 with just the Sauber of Amaze to negotiate now before we get a bit of clean air and we can start pushing after the Ferrari. But we now have to have a look. Midget in the slipstream into the walls of the final chicane. Is he going to go for it? No. He's backed off, or not using the high ARS modes on the straight, as we've gone in too deep to the final chicane. That's another warning for us there. 2 warnings in a lap. Absolutely disastrous. And not at all what we wanted, as we're now very close to a penalty. So we're going to have a look at that inside of Amaze there. More of a desperate lunge than an actual overtaking attempt, and luckily we were able to pull out of the move, and Amaze didn't turn in extremely early, because that could have resulted in us having a spin there. Really silly driving from me, if I'm honest. There was never really a move on there, and we maintain P3 for the moment, but we'll be looking to get past Amaze as quickly as possible. This is lap 16 already. The undercut time is almost over. Jack will be coming in at the end of the next lap, I expect, if he's doing the one stop I'd expect. But look how much better traction we have than the Sauber off turn number 6 there, or 7, whatever. And we're just able to drive past him easily. Obviously a bit of usage of high RS modes as well, but that doesn't matter. We're up into P2 now. We need to push for the next lap and a bit to make sure we maximise the gap we have to Jack whilst he's still on the old tyres. End of lap 17. It is the fastest lap of the race once again from me, and we head into turn 1. Where is Jack going to be? Not in front of us. Thank God. That would have been an Xbox turn off moment if he managed to be in front of us after us having a 6 lap undercut. But he's annoyingly close. I'll just get to the end of the next lap. You can just about see him as we look behind. That's the fastest lap once again. As you can see, I'm pushing very hard. The gap's about 2 seconds, I think. I can't quite see. It's very small on my screen. But the gap isn't as big as I'd like, given how much of an undercut I have. I've gained less than a second, I think, with the 6 lap undercut, which shows that it really was the wrong strategy. As we skip to the end of lap 19, fastest lap for the 3rd consecutive lap. We are pulling away, but his pace is very similar to mine. He's still sticking with me, and this is exactly not what I want. We need to build a gap so we don't have too much work to do in the final stint, but that's not what we're doing. Despite setting fastest lap, he can do pretty much exactly the same as me. So that's the 4th lap in a row we set the fastest lap now, and the gap just isn't going up as enough. And well, we'll have to see how much quicker we are on the new tyres, but this really isn't filling me with confidence. It's going to be more than a second a lap, I would think, as we now see it's the end of lap 22, the final full lap of my stint, and it's the fastest lap once again. That's 5 times in the last 6 laps, I think, that I've done the fastest lap. I have got the gap over 2 seconds now, but that's taken 5 fastest laps, pretty much, and to gain less than half a second, which just shows how similar our paces were. That's not correct English, but we'll go with it. But now it's coming to the end of lap 23, full commitment into the pits, just about getting it slowed down to the 50 miles an hour, I think it is. And we're coming in for our second and final stop of the race, and we're just going to have to see what we have to do in order to catch up and take the win away from Jack here. Fresh intermediates going on, 12 laps to the end now, and we're just going to have to give it the full beans. Hope we can close what will probably be a 15 or so second gap and make the move done. His tyres will probably be pretty second hand at the end, especially if he's feeling the pressure and having to push. So we're going to give it our best shot, but I don't have my hopes very high at this moment. Obviously, I've checked with Jeff, he doesn't have a penalty, neither do we, but if he did have a penalty, that would mean I'd only have to get within 3 seconds of him, and would make my life quite a lot easier, as you can see already pushing out the pits, oversteer through turn number 5 there, as we head through the chicane of 6 and 7. And yeah, obviously come out easily in second here. Jack and I were really in a league of our own. It would have been interesting to see where Dylan, Stewie, Sebro might have been if they hadn't got taken out at the end of the first lap, but these things happen. If we turn in too early for that chicane, that's such a stupid penalty to get, and now, yeah, no chance. We have to catch pass and gain 3 seconds, because I very much doubt Jack is getting a penalty around this track, as the gap is 12 seconds. So not impossible, but unlikely, I'm saying at this point, as we skip to the end of lap number 25. The next lap we run deep into the final chicane again, just locking up, jumping over the curbs. We've lost a lot of time there as we boot the power on the exit, but that was probably going to be the fastest lap of the race, and as it turns out we're nearly a second off our PB and we've lost time once again to Jack. But skipping to the end of the next lap, we're now on it. Fastest lap of the race. The gap is now 11.3 seconds with 7-8 laps to go, so it needs to be over a second a lap if we're to do it, but we're obviously going to push our hardest all the way to the end, see what we can produce as we skip to the end of the next lap. Is it going to be a fastest lap again? Yes, it is, and we've got the gap still over 10 seconds despite the fastest lap. His pace is very consistent. He's very good at managing the tyres and just keeping the pace, not making mistakes, and a couple of mistakes which I have made in this race have maybe cost me a chance to be up with him at the end as we skip to the end of lap number 29 now. That's the fastest lap for the third consecutive lap. We now have the gap under 10 seconds, but 6 laps to go, 9-second gap. Let's be honest, not really going to happen, but obviously we can still push. There's no harm in doing that. We're pretty safe from a maze behind, so even if the tyres do start to go off, as we set the fastest lap again at the end of lap 32. We've now got the gap down to 6 seconds with 3 laps to go, so we're needing about 2 seconds a lap. Big C's got caught up in an instant and kindly gets out in the way of us there. But now we skip to the final lap of the race. It hasn't been enough. We've got a 4-second gap as we start the last lap. We gave it our absolute best, closing a second a lap for the past 2 laps, but he was too quick and too consistent. Maybe if I hadn't made mistakes, missing the final chicane a couple of times, we might have been able to catch him. That probably cost me quite a lot of time as we've cut that and there's another penalty. So just to add insult to injury, rub salt in the wounds there, we've got our second penalty there on the last lap, but it doesn't really matter. We're like 20 seconds ahead of Ramazed. We're not going to be losing out to him, but these things happen. Congrats to Jack, who will take home the win here unless something dramatic happens, like he gets a puncture. He had the right strategy. I made the wrong call. I might have been able to make my tyres last. We'll never know really, but these things happen. Still happy with my drive. We'll be back on the podium for only the second time this season, as we're still going purple to the middle sector on the last lap, just showing how much I was pushing in this race. And I don't actually set fastest lap on this lap, but I set the fastest lap 14 times over the race. That's on almost half of the laps of the race, just to show how much I was pushing here, giving it everything I got, but it wasn't enough. Jack comes through the final chicane to take the win here in Canada. It'll be a second place for me, my second podium of the season, and where else would it be apart from Canada, as we match our 1,000th off our PB there on the last lap. But yeah, our second podium of the season, which maintains us third place in the championship, but now some 50 points off the race winner and still the championship leader Jack. Stewie finished down in 5th, I think, so we gained points on him. We're about 30 points behind him, so unless we can have a momentous change in fortune, it's looking unlikely that we're fighting for the championship. But third place is good. Just continue doing what I'm doing, get the consistent results, and that will be all I need to maintain third in the championship. It was Midget who joined us on the podium after Amazed had 2 penalties. Amazed took home 4th, Stewie in 5th, Minty in 6th, Malta taking home a solid 7th for points in back-to-back weeks for him. I can't remember who was in 8th. My apologies. 9th was Shemil, although pending a penalty, and 10th was Seabro. Huge apologies to whoever's in 8th. I've forgotten. But yeah, it's on screen now. And yeah, another podium for me here. Starting to get my act together, hopefully. And yeah, a good result for myself, although maybe it could have been the win. But oh well, still very happy with my drive to be back on the podium here. And yeah, I'll see you very soon for probably ILR Austria. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.